Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this episode, I'm hoping to get the exterior of BedBug painted, and it's been a lot of work, a lot of rubbing down until the cows come home. I have successfully deleted my fingerprints, but let's see how we get on. What time do the cows come home? Fingerprint not recognised. So it's a bit late in the day, but I actually want to get some panels painted tonight. So what I'll do is I'll get the panels painted this evening, and then we'll talk about what I've been getting on with BedBug after that. So although BedBug is a relatively small car, it has taken forever, maybe a week, to try and get this bodywork prepped ready for paint. And although the bodywork is pretty much prepped and ready to go, I still haven't finished the masking. It is going to take a little bit longer. One thing I will say though, I have hung the doors and I'm going to paint the doors on the car, but before that I did paint the inside of the doors, so they're ready to rock and roll. And yesterday I did get these panels painted, including the engine lid, but before that I did paint the inside of all these as well. I did have a little bit of paint left over, so what I've done is I've just given these discs that live on the front valance a blast of paint as well. And also, while I was doing the inside of the doors, I thought rear valance and the bonnet hinges and also the glove box would be a good idea. So at this point I do need to put a little bit more effort into finishing off the masking. I've got a lot of scrubbing, degreasing and tack ragging to do as well before I even get anywhere near painting this. But as there's a little bit of daylight left today, what I'm going to do is see if I can get those wings painted. So what I've done is I put the wings on the panel stands and I'm almost ready to go. You can see here there's a couple of little bald spots in the primer where you can see the body filler showing, and what I'll need to do there is just puff a bit of aerosol can primer on there and give it a scotch before the paint goes on. So the other day I did finally manage to get those wings painted, the front wings and the rear wings. If you remember, they were absolutely total, but the paintwork seems to have come out okay. And yesterday I was going to paint the car. I did need to finish off the masking and paint it, but I did have some family members turn up. But what makes this super exciting is they rocked up in their classic retro car, which was a Toyota Celica XX, or is it XX? Anyway, it was amazing, and so I took the day off yesterday so I can get on with the paint today. But what I'll do is I'll leave a bit of footage of that car at the end of this video. I think you're going to love it. So I'm going to be making a lot of mess painting in the workshop today. So what I've done is, with the panels that were already painted, I've just chucked them outside, out of the way, just so they don't get a load of overspray on. So I did have a chance this morning just to get the rest of the masking rattled off, and I'm pretty much ready to go. I still need to give this a good old degrease and a tack rag, and then we can start chucking the paint on. So you may have noticed when it comes to professional painting tips, well, I haven't really given you any over the videos and over the projects that I've previously painted. And when it comes to professional painting using a spray booth or a clean area, well, I don't really know a lot about it. But when it comes to working in really bad conditions, in the dark, in the cold, in when it's too hot, in the summer, in the winter, etc., etc., well, I do know a lot about that. So when it comes to painting cars and motorbikes, I have done tons over the years, and in the conditions I was working in, it's never been perfect. Yeah, I have managed to get quite a good job when it comes to paint, and I have my own method of doing this. And I don't know what it's like to paint in a professional spray booth or anything like that, but as I said, I do have a lot of experience in painting in the worst conditions. So hopefully BedBug will come out okay, and I'll show you guys exactly how I do this. It may not be textbook, but you could find yourself in a situation where you're going to be painting your car outside or in a cramped garage, or in this case, a workshop that's cramped and extremely dusty, and you're wondering what kind of results you'll get. So hopefully this will help you. So at this point, BedBug is in primer, and I've blocked it all down, guide coated it, etc. And I'm pretty happy with how straight it is now. It wasn't perfect. Well, I'm not after perfection, I'm just after a good job. And I did find a couple of little dents that I'd missed out on the filler work stage, so I've sorted those out. Any areas that have bare metal on, or any areas that I'd repaired, I've just dusted over a bit more primer and flatted it off. So this is pretty much ready to go. What I need to do now is just degrease it. So when it comes to degreaser, there is quite a few you can get, and there are different speeds. You can get a fast drying one or a slow drying one. This one here is pretty much a generic panel wipe, but one thing that's really good with this stuff here, it can help remove the silicons that are on top of the primer before you paint it. And silicons can be a massive problem, especially when you're painting in a workshop and you've used things like spray oils or products that do contain silicon, because they can ruin your paint. So what you want to do is degrease it as thoroughly as possible with panel wipe first. So first up, put some gloves on. This is to protect your hands from the panel wipe, but not only that, your skin does have a bit of grease in there, and you don't really want to contaminate your nice clean primer. Also, what I'm using is quite a generic white cloth, which I've got from the hardware store. It's just a paper towel. It comes in a pack. In the past, I have used Blue Roll. In the UK, you can buy these massive packs of Blue Roll, but what I found with Blue Roll and panel wipe is the color comes off, the blue comes off, and you're wiping it across the body, and I do worry that you could cause some problems at a later date. So I'm using white paper cloth. So I tend to use quite a lot of panel wipe when I'm doing these kind of jobs. I really don't like silicons in the paint or any kind of contaminants. And I find that panel wipe is the best stuff for me to use to get rid of any of these contaminants. But one thing I will say is that this panel wipe, as I said, is available in different drying speeds. So if you get yourself a panel wipe that is very slow and the surface is still wet when you put the paint on, this can actually affect the paint. So you have to make sure that the panel wipe has completely evaporated before you go anywhere near it with any paint. So now I'm thoroughly degreased. I've degreased the body and I've also degreased the bonnet, and I'm pretty happy with the way things are looking so far. The next thing I need to tackle is the amount of dust that's in the workshop. Obviously I could have spent ages making some kind of structure. Unfortunately, finances and time, I won't be able to do that, so I will be painting it as it sits right now. But something that gets me is the floor. The floor is very dusty, so an old painter's trick is to actually wet the floor down so any dust that flicks up will be landing on the floor and staying there. So if you do decide to wet the floor when you're painting the car just to stop any dust flicking up on the underside area, one thing that you need to realize is that your airline will get wet. And if you were to paint the top of the car, for instance, and the airline's wet, you could flick water up into your new paint job. So just be careful if you're doing this. So those with a keen eye will notice that I am actually wearing a paint suit, and this is not something that I'm used to. This is the first time I've actually used some kind of coverall when I'm painting a car, but I thought as I wasn't building a structure over the car to keep the dust out, I thought maybe it would be beneficial to wear the appropriate clothing. So what I need to do now is tack rag or tack cloth the outside of the body, and I'll be using this here, which I call it a tack rag. It is a sticky cloth, and what you do is you open it out to its full extent and then you just screw it up into a light ball like this here. And then what I normally do is I use the air out of the spray gun and the tack cloth together just to get rid of any contaminants that could be sitting on top of the primer. So the colour for BedBug is obviously black, but instead of using a solid colour like I did on the 67, it will be having a black base with a clear coat over the top. And something about the black base is that the first coat, what I do is I apply it really fine. I just put a light sticky coat or grab coat, whatever you want to call it, over all the panels first. So that's my grab coat put onto the outside of BedBug, and what does it look like? Well, it looks terrible. If you look at the paint, it's all patchy and it's opaque. What I need to do now is just let that flash off, and then once it is kind of dry, what I can do then is apply the next coat. So that coat is now flashed off and I'm ready to put the next coat on. This next coat is going on a lot thicker than the first coat, so I've got to be careful not to get greedy and get loads of runs in my paint. So that's one sticky coat of paint applied and then one heavy coat, and at the moment it's looking pretty black, but in some areas it's quite opaque. So what I need to do now is put another coat of thick paint over the top, and then maybe even another one if I'm not happy. So I did end up putting a couple more coats on just so I was happy that the paint wasn't opaque and it looked pretty uniform. What I need to do now is lock it all in with some clear lacquer. So in the same manner that I put on the black paint, I'm going to put a really light coat of clear coat or clear lacquer on first and let that flash off as a sticky base coat. So after applying very badly and it does look very rubbish, a sticky coat of lacquer, what I can do after this, after it's flashed off, is I can apply a thick coat of lacquer over the top. So with that heavy coat of clear coat, it's starting to look something like this. It's starting to look very, very shiny and it's really starting to pop. But what I need to do now is I need to apply another coat, maybe two, just to make sure I've got enough material on it. So there you go, that's another couple of coats of clear coat or lacquer, whatever you want to call it, thrown onto our project BedBug, and I have given it 15 minutes to dry. So there we go, that's the last couple of coats of clear coat on the bonnet and the body of BedBug, and it's looking pretty good. I'm really happy now it's in some kind of paint. The repairs have actually come out really well. There doesn't seem to be any serious dents or anything like that. And when I found out that BedBug was going to be painted black, well, I was pretty worried because I knew that the repair work that I've done on all these panels had to be pretty good, because otherwise, if you have a little dent in the middle of nowhere, you will actually see it in the reflection. And as you can see in the reflection, it's looking really straight. So it was really worth just spending that little bit of extra time just going over BedBug and making sure I deleted all of the obvious dents and imperfections on the body, because it's really paid off now that the paint's on. I can really see it popping. So what I need to do now is leave BedBug for a little while just so I'm happy that the paint is completely cured off, and then I can get onto the polishing stage. But at this stage, it's looking pretty good. I don't think it will need a lot of work to get this super shiny. So when painting in conditions like this, as I said, this isn't my first time. Most of the paintwork that I've done over the years has been carried out in really crappy conditions. And I've kind of got used to painting this way. And the way I've done it is I applied that sticky coat first, that grab coat. And then what I've done is I applied the paint, but I didn't go too thick. Because what I'm worried about is the drying time. If I apply thin coats, it tends to go off quicker and it's less likely to get bits of grit and stuff land in the paint. So with black cars, I have a bit of a love and hate kind of relationship with it. I really do like the look of a black car. I don't like owning one, and I certainly don't like painting one because it shows all the imperfections and all the dings and all the dents. The easiest colour to do a car like this would actually be white. If you imagine in the UK you have a white transit van, it's very beaten up, but it doesn't look it until you get up close. So in the next video, well, I'm hoping to do a bit of polishing. Let's see if we can start doing some polishing, getting BedBug fitted back up and more car-like. So thanks as always for joining me on our epic build, which is of course Project BedBug. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I do apologize that it is late and the last couple of videos have taken quite a long time to come out, but the amount of work that I've had to do just to get this ready for paint is absolutely insane. But we're there, we've done it, it's in paint. So I'll see you guys next time. Let's see if we can get some more stuff done. Cheers!